Developer log, stardate 27072018. There are many improvements to talk about this week, much of which will not interest very many people, but some of which are very visual and very fun to look at and very fun to see. So let's jump in and I will show you what I've been up to for the last week. So here's the game, as you can see, and it looks fairly different just because we changed the background tile, so it's much lighter, makes it much easier to see your existing units, makes it easier to see the user interface. All of that stuff looks much nicer now. Another thing that you won't be able to see as soon as I run the game is you no longer have to click to move your guys. They just follow your mouse wherever, which we might put that in the options. It might be an option that you can turn on or off depending on how you like it. Sometimes it is nice to be able to click to control them rather than them just blindly following the cursor. But for now, this is what we're doing. And you can also see there's this progress bar up here. That was different. That was like a countdown last week. We find it's better with an actual progress bar. It's easier to spot. Also updated sound effects that I'm now going to mute. This is another very visual thing. You can see your units don't just fade out when you are attacking anymore. Their health is a little more obscure. It's a little harder to tell how much health your units have left. I don't know what these guys are doing. They're confused about something. So it is harder to tell, but they get red or almost kind of a black for your units when you are close, when they're within half of their health, basically. So, ooh, and that guy's got a much bigger bullet, as you can see. It's a little harder to avoid now. Gotta take him out, take these guys out. So just lots of nice little visual improvements that you've seen already. The health system alone is much nicer to use than it was. I am going to die right here. It seems like I always die right at the beginning of my devlog every week. So, haha, got a couple more. Now I can take this group out, I think. Yeah, these guys are all pretty close. So those are some of the basic things. Now here in a minute. Okay, that's not a big boss. This is the hack boss. My camera is slightly busted for that cutscene, but what can you do? Fighting. Let me see if I can take this group out first. Can I do it? One of those guys is close. Okay, they're both close. I think we got this. Barely, but I think we've got it. All right. Now we can go after the mini boss, which is right here. You can see these units are a lot sped up. Another thing that's kind of subtle, it's a little bit hard to catch if you're not looking for it, but the older version of this game, I need to save my level 2 unit here. He is hurting. So if you look at last week's video or yikes, both my level 2 guys are weak. That's not good. Okay, there's his weak now. Oh, got him. Oh, I lost one of mine. Shoot. Well, there's the end of the level. So when you fight the mini boss, as soon as you resurrect that group, all of those units are added to your group except for the top tier unit. So in this case, that's the small hack. All the rest of the units you get, but the small hack you do not. That's going to be something that we'll have to make more obvious at some point. That small hack will eventually be added into the store here, which I think I talked about last week, but anyway. You also get a little bit of scrap from your units dying. You can harvest some of that scrap, so that's where this 420 scrap came from. You can also get a whole bunch more if you sell them, like this. So now I've got 1200, which is pretty good. We've got a progress bar here, which styling these progress bars is pretty neat. This one is a little bit of a hack to get it to do what I wanted it to do, but I got it working. And let's continue on to the next level. So, we've also got a bug with the timer. You can see it's already halfway through there. So we've got a lot. So I got distracted. I was going to talk about the Y sorting issue. So if you look at previous builds of the game, it's pretty hard to spot the enemies when you crowd up close, and that's because all of your units in previous versions of the game, all of your units were on top of all of the enemy units. So when you crowded around them, it got pretty hard to actually tell what was going on. And turns out that was actually a really difficult thing to fix. And I will show you a little bit about what I did to solve that. I'll show you why it was a problem first, and then I'll show you how I solved it. And I'm not 100% happy with my solution. It's a little hacky, and it causes some other problems. I need to save my dude there. Be alive, dude. Yay, I saved him. All right. So I just to finish my thought real quick, I will show you what caused that Y sorting issue, and I will show you how I fixed it, and I'll tell you why I'm not happy about it. We'll get to that as soon as we're done playing this version of the game, Resurrect These Dudes. I'm really starting to be fairly happy with how somewhat polished it's starting to feel. There's still a number of little bugs here and there that I'm pointing out as I see them. So we've got a big gun here, big gun mini boss, which I think I had done last week, but now he's much improved, as you will see here shortly. So it's really nice for these units to turn red just when they're getting close to death, because it makes it really easy for you to spot when your unit needs help and to get him away. And because whenever you resurrect a group, it heals all of your existing units. It really adds a nice level of strategy to the gameplay. So I'm pretty happy about that. Just like that, I just saved 2 of my units right there. I mean, it's not like 4-dimensional chess or anything, but it's something unique and interesting, and adds another layer to the game. Keep fighting these dudes. I need to go over and show you this boss, but I want to get enough of these level 2 units to move on first. Keep attacking, resurrect. Currently, so there's also a big boss that I'm going to show you guys here in a little bit. The big boss has 2 different attacks and a whole bunch of different animations, so I'm excited to show him off. So see that new bullet for this big gun. And that is actually pretty devastating. You can see that just did a lot of damage to me. So you want to watch out for that. Look how many near-death units that I saved. Just want to say. So let me see if I can take this guy down. I don't want to get hit by his bullet because it hurts a lot. Ow. All right. Keep at it. So this mini boss has gotten a lot more interesting to fight. I need to do something about this, like they just move to the edge of the screen and then it gets way harder to fight them at some point. Okay, he's almost, okay, got him. Good. Now I can take out the last little blighters here. Take them out. All right. So now I've got 3 knights, 3 knight 2s. I've got 21 regular knights, so I'm going to sell some of those guys off. Just keep a dozen. Dozen's good. I could sell my ranged guy. I'll leave him. So this scrap doesn't actually do anything yet because the shop is not functional, but it's still kind of a fun way to kind of give yourself a high score, an unofficial high score. So see if you guys can beat my scrap level in this version of the game. That could be fun. Big hack, so I'm going to die right away here. So that's most of what I wanted to show you guys with the playable game so far. I can actually get out of here now. This boss is a little bit less interesting. And I'm probably going to die here. Things are not looking great for me. All of my units are almost dead. Yeah, I'm in trouble. You're not supposed to face the boss that soon. That was really fast. So, boom, I'm dead. All right, so that's that. Now let me talk about the things that I actually said that I would talk about. So the Y sorting issue. I was using Godot's hierarchy up here. This is Godot's hierarchy. And you can see right now we just have 1 units container. And this units container has all of the living, moving, breathing things. All of those things go into this one container. And I didn't do that before because when we run the game, you can see all of these guys are supposed to be in their same little group, right? They all behave similarly, they all react to things similarly, and that's also true for all of the enemies. All of the enemies have a group that they belong to. So originally I was using this unit container, and then I had another enemies container, and inside the enemies container I had more containers that were, and well, let me just show you. So I had a node like this. And you could go see this in last week's video, but this was enemies, just like that. And inside this node, I had Y-sort containers. And Y-sort containers take everything inside and layer them. They give them a Z-index based on their Y positioning on the screen. So it basically makes anything look like when it is closer to the bottom, it looks like it's higher. So that creates this really nice layering effect, where when you have a group of enemies like this, the ones that are down here layer on top of the things that are up here. So that's Y-sorting in a nutshell. But the problem was, since I had everything split out into their own Y-sort containers, those containers didn't Y-sort with each other. So that was the problem I had. And I had a few different ways that I could solve it. The way I decided to do it was to use groups. Godot also has a paradigm of groups that are basically like ways that you can tag individual objects. So this unit here, if we go to the node view, there's this groups object, and this guy is part of the player group. Anything I put in the player group will be a part of this player group. So if we want to, I want to actually show you guys the big boss that I've been working on. And I haven't actually tried this, so I don't know how well this will work, but hypothetically, we should be able to take this boss, dump him into this container. I'm gonna pull him. Oh, come here. Come here, big guy. Pull him over here. So here's our big boss. This is your introduction to the big hack. Not big hack, the big boss for this arena. He's got 2 different weapons, and this is actually not going to work, but I'm going to show you what it's like anyway. I'm going to put him in the player group, just like that. We tag him as being in the player group, and now, if I run this, he's invisible. So this doesn't work with him because, well, he is actually there. You can see there are his bullets. He's trying to attack this guy. So the reason he's not there is because he doesn't have blue sprites. All of our units have blue sprites for the player group. And since he doesn't have them, he's showing up as invisible. He's still there, but he's invisible. So instead of player group, I'm going to give him the enemy group. And also enemy group 99. I give every enemy group its own unique integer like this so that I can keep them separate from everything else. So now we can take a look at this guy for real. Let me pull him over a little more, if I can. Oh, come on, big guy. Why won't you come? Okay, just do it this way. All right, so pull him up like this. So here's our big boss for the area. Here's your introduction to him. He has this machine gun that shoots 2 bullets, and they pack a pretty good punch. So I'm going to try to avoid them with my nice, quick, nimble group. He also shakes the screen when he walks, which is pretty fun. When he shoots this shoulder cannon, you'll see he also shakes the screen with that cannon. So if he ever gets around to it. Come on, buddy. We're waiting. There it is. So you can see the shoulder cannon actually shoots out a couple of these dudes, which you can then fight and kind of use these guys to replenish your troops if need be. So there we go. Just got a couple of, oops, just got hurt. Just got a couple of new troops from this dude. So this guy's going to be the big boss for this area. Once you beat all the mini bosses and beat all of the different arenas, then you will go to this dude who is going to fight with a whole bunch of other little units and stuff. So yeah, this guy does not want to die. So there he is. I don't know that I have a whole lot more to show you about him, although I do kind of want to show you the code, how that works. But we will get around to that. So I've shown you the big gun mini boss. I've shown you the big boss. I've told you about the graphics that we kind of overhauled. We've also got some new sound effects. I will go over those a little bit more in the future because I will have them more filled out by next week. And also the progress bar up top here. I talked about that. So, and I also talked about the Y sorting. So let's jump into this big boss just a little bit so I can show you what's going on with this guy. It's actually surprisingly simple. And this is one of the things I love about Godot. I love how Godot makes it so easy to organize all of the things that you need. So this guy inherits the same script that all of the other units use. And then I just add a few different unique things that are unique to him. So for instance, he has 2 different bullets. I've got one called the dude bullet, one called the machine bullet. And they both do completely different things, and they are both contained inside their own scenes, which I can open up and show you. He's also got 2 different attacks, an attack and a big attack, which I've got listed in these modes up here. These are all of his different behaviors, the ways that he acts. He's got a couple timers. This is all the configuration stuff that is actually inherited from this base unit that I'm just tweaking for him. Things like health, attack damage, the time that he's invincible when he gets attacked, all of that stuff. And then I also have screen shake, which is, he is the first unit that I have implemented screen shake on. So I'm still kind of working on this, trying to make this better, but, and this is very precision based. So whenever he starts one of these states, whenever he starts seeking or wandering, so to speak, then I start a timer, and that timer is what I use to do the screen shake. And then this is a pretty crude but effective method of basically timing your screen shake in time with his footfalls. So I just went through the animation, and let me actually show you a really easy way to do this. If we go into the sprite here, we can go into the hack frames, and here's his run animation. You can see there are 6 frames, and he has 4 frames per second. So we've got 6 frames at 4 frames per second. So that's about, this whole animation is going to be about 1.5 seconds long. So this is pretty simplistic, but that basically allows you to look at this animation and say, okay, his foot is going down on the second frame and the 5th frame. So the second frame is going to be about, since we're at 4 frames per second, that's going to be about 0.75. It'll be about 3/4 of the way through the second. And this will just be right at the end, right at 1.5 seconds, right? So if we go back in here, you can see I kind of blanketed out those times. I looked for the timer, and I said if it's between 0.75, which is that 3rd frame, and 6.5. So I'm actually triggering the screen shake just before his foot falls down, which I think feels a little bit better than if you do it a little bit after. If you do it a little bit after, then it feels late. So, or if you do it exactly on time, it still feels late. So I like doing it just a little bit before the actual animation goes down. As for the attack, I've got 2 separate timers in here, and I've got a big attack delay, which is about 30 seconds. So I will count down. Well, and I've also got the bullet delay, which is 5 seconds. So he'll do about 5 machine gun shots for every dude bullet that he shoots. So it'll be machine gun, machine gun, machine gun, machine gun, machine gun, and then dude bullet. So, which I haven't done a whole lot of tweaking on that yet. I don't know if that feels right or not, but it's good enough for now. I also have a few sound effects just sprinkled in here, and Godot also makes those super easy. You just drop these animation players in here, and then you do play whenever you want to use them, which is really nice. So that's about all there is to this guy. He's actually really a lot simpler than I thought he would be. We've got, as you can see, we've got just over 100 lines of code here, and I haven't done much cleaning up for this code yet, but it's pretty decent code for what it does. I'm not too worried about coming back to this file later and saying, oh, what have I done with this? This is awful. I think this will be fairly maintainable. Let me show you these bullets real quick before we wrap it up here. I've got this projectiles folder now because I've got so many different, well, I've got a few different types of bullets. The big bullet I can show you, which we looked at. This is for the big gun. It's got a couple animations. It's got the wind-up animation, and then it's got the default animation, which I can, let's see. Let me show you this one first. We'll turn on the loop so you can kind of see what it does. That's not enough, apparently. Playing. Yeah, so that's kind of the build-up. So right when he shoots it, it goes from being this small bullet to this wide spread shot. And then if we go to the default animation, that's just kind of a back and forth, like flying along. So that's that. And also you'll notice, I don't actually want wind up to be looping. You'll notice that the hitbox is the size of the finished bullet, which seems pretty obvious, but it is a pretty important detail that you don't make the hitbox the size of that first frame, because then it wouldn't hit very much, would it? I also like having the hitbox just slightly smaller than the sprite so that it feels a little more fair, because if I stretch this hitbox farther, then there's quite a bit of area here where it would technically hit your characters without it actually looking like it hit you. So I always like to go with smaller rather than bigger. Otherwise, I mean, it's always frustrating as a player to get hit when you obviously didn't actually touch the thing that hit you. So we don't want that. So that's the big bullet. The dude bullet here, I want to add some rotation. I want to spin this a little bit at some point, which we may or may not do. And the code for this one is pretty interesting because it actually spawns units. And it also has two different animations. Well, no, I killed one animation. Well, it does have two. So it has the explosion animation here too, which is pretty cool. I'm a big fan of this explosion animation. I think it's pretty cool. Play. That's pretty sweet. So this explosion animation is just to hide the two units that we spawn when this bullet destroys itself on the ground. So that's what that does, which is pretty nice. And this doesn't currently do anything. It's not even animated. So, but this code is pretty simple too. It just has a timer, lifetime of about 2 seconds, and then it goes in one direction for 2 seconds, and then it explodes, destroys itself. It plays the explosion animation, and then it spawns 2 units. So pretty simple, pretty easy. And that's where we are for this week, guys. Next week, this is officially our last week of, this was our last week of July. So we've got just a couple days left at the time of recording this video. We've just got a couple days left to hit our goal of having a fully finished area by the end of the month. So by the next time we talk, guys, we should have a fully fleshed out arena here from beginning to end, starting with your 4 little units here and building yourself into a big enough army to take on this dude. So that's exciting. We will hopefully have a version 0.1 by the next time we talk. Thanks again for joining us, guys. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.